Hello everyone and welcome back to another grammar lesson with me. I am Jasmine and today we'll be looking at another very important grammar lesson, countable and uncountable nouns. As always, I'll be teaching you everything you need to know about them. Now, let's just dive into our new lesson. In order to know what countable and uncountable nouns are, we must first make sure we know what the word noun is. We can do that by first knowing what words aren't nouns. We've got these words that aren't nouns. We've got verbs. They state an action. Adjectives and adverbs that describe something. And then we've got prepositions such as on, at, in, of, etc. So nouns don't state any action, don't describe anything, and of course they are not prepositions. Whatever out of this category is a noun. Nouns can be classified or categorized differently, and one of these ways is to divide them into countable and uncountable nouns. Countable nouns or count nouns are nouns that can be counted. They can be exactly separated into elements. We can add an exact number to say how many of a particular thing we've got. For example, 1 egg, 2 eggs, 3 eggs, 2 markers, 4 markers, 6 markers. So we can add an exact number before a countable noun. We can add articles, a or an, before countable nouns. For example, a book, which means 1 book. An hour, an apple. A teacher, that's also the same as adding a number before these nouns because we can count them. So a book, which means 1 book, an hour, which means 1 hour. By the way, I've made a video about indefinite articles as well, so if you've got any problems with that, I'll put the link in the description so you can check that out too. Back to what we were saying, so countable nouns can have a number before them or an article, a or an, but just because we can count them, they can be singular and plural. When they are singular, we treat them as a singular noun. For example, we have a teacher. Our teacher is very kind. She teaches English. And if the noun teacher is plural, we say teachers. We make them plural. And everything else must be treated as plural. For example, we've got 2 teachers. Our teachers are very kind. They teach us English. Let's see what we've got here. There is a pen in the pencil case, but there are 2 pens in the pencil case. We usually can't use singular countable nouns alone. We must almost always use them with something, especially in the middle of the sentence. We can use an article, a pronoun, etc. So we say, I'd like to eat an apple, not I'd like to eat apple. There is a beautiful park here, not there is beautiful park here. I read your book, not I read book. That doesn't make sense. But we can use plural countable nouns alone. For example, I like bananas. What about you? Beaches are great for relaxing. Comedy films can make anyone smile. Now, let's get to uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns or non-count nouns are nouns that cannot be counted. We can't count them because somehow it's impossible to count them. we can't divide them into separate elements. Like water. Can we actually count water? No. Air. Sugar. Rice. Is it actually possible for you to count every single grain of rice? It's not. It's way too hard to do that. So they are counted as uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns got a set of rules with them as well. We can't use numbers with them. So we can't say 1 water, 2 waters, 3 sugars, 4 electricities. We can't. We also can't use a and an with them. So we can't say a rice, an air, a coffee, a meat, an oxygen. We use them without a or an or indefinite articles. They only have one form, and that is singular. So we can't treat them in plural forms because they don't have any plural forms. The verb that is used with them is always singular. For example, there isn't enough air. Where is the money I gave you? Flour is necessary for baking the cake. Note, we can use uncountable nouns alone, but we can also add another noun before them. For example, I eat bread every day. I eat her bread every day. I eat some bread every day. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have my money. He doesn't have their money. Something very important you need to have in mind about countable and uncountable nouns is that it's not really easy to tell if a noun is countable or uncountable. Sometimes it's very hard and challenging because there are always exceptions in English, so please be patient with them. However, now I'm going to tell you how uncountable nouns are usually recognized from countable nouns, which can help you a lot in learning them and knowing whether a noun is countable or uncountable. Uncountable nouns usually belong to one of these 6 categories: liquids, gases, powder or grain, a state of being and feelings, abstract ideas, and names of groups or collections of things. For example, milk, petrol, water, juice. These are liquids, and liquids cannot be counted because we cannot divide them into separate elements. The same goes for gases like oxygen, air, carbon dioxide. Powder and grain like rice, sugar, salt, black pepper, oat. Can we actually count them? No, because it's way too hard to count them. A state of being and feelings like happiness, sadness, anger. These words are nouns and they state a feeling, but they cannot be counted. So we treat them as uncountable nouns. Abstract ideas like knowledge, information, advice, and names of groups or collections of things like furniture, equipment, luggage. Of course, the list goes on, but don't worry about it. I'll be making another video in which I'll be telling you all about the necessary uncountable nouns you should know. But for now, let's just stick to the basics and how they are used. Now, let me tell you something else about countable and uncountable nouns. There are some words that are called determiners that we use with count nouns and some other determiners that we use with uncountable nouns, and there are some other determiners that we use with both. I've so simply summarized it here for you so you can learn it easily without forgetting. For count nouns, we've got a or an, many, few, a few. We only use these determiners with countable nouns. And for uncountable nouns, well, we said we don't use any indefinite articles with them. So we've got no a or an, that's nothing, much, little, a little. There is a slight difference between a few and a little and little. The thing is, when we say a few, we mean it in a very positive way. So of course, it's a small number, but it's enough. So it's got a positive meaning. But when we say few, it means very small, not many, and obviously not enough. So it's got a negative meaning to it. For example, I've got a few friends, which means they are enough. They are not many, but they are enough. So it's got a positive meaning to it. But I've got few friends. It's got a negative meaning to it, meaning I don't have many friends. They are not enough at all. The same thing goes for little and a little. A little means a small quantity, which is enough, but for uncountable nouns. And little, again for uncountable nouns, but a very small quantity, that is hardly any amount, which means not enough. It's got a negative meaning to it. For example, I want to bake a cake. We've got a little milk, which means that's enough. That's enough milk. But if I say we've got little milk, that's a negative meaning, meaning it's not enough to bake a cake. So we need to get more. Let me show you a trick to remember this. We've got a few, a little, few, and little. Phrases a few and a little got a with them. They've got something extra that can be said as enough. But for few and little, we've got no words with them. There is no a. They are not enough. They don't have enough words in them. This is the trick I almost always use myself to tell them apart. And the determiners we use for both of these countable and uncountable nouns are the, a lot of, lots of, plenty of, some, enough, any, no. When we say many, much, a lot of, plenty of, lots of, we mean we've got a huge number of or a large amount of something. And then when we say a few, a little, some, enough, we mean it's not very much, but it's fine, it's enough. And then few, little, any, no. Now let's see some examples with all these determiners.
I'd like to have a sandwich. Would you like some cheese? No, thank you. Just a little ketchup, please. There are plenty of biscuits on the plate. There isn't much honey left. We haven't got any tomatoes.
Question. Can we turn uncountable nouns to countable? Yes, that's possible, but let me tell you how. It's not that you can make them plural or countable by adding s. That's not going to happen. But you can make most uncountable nouns by adding a countable expression in front of them to make them countable. These countable expressions are used for measuring and make sure that that measuring noun goes with the uncountable noun. For example, for water, we can use measuring nouns like glass, gallon, bottle, cup, mug, bowl, or some things like that. I need a glass of water. Bring 2 bottles of water with you. There were 3 gallons of water. For rice, we can say a bowl of rice, 3 kilos of rice, a plate of rice, bread, a loaf of bread, 7 slices of bread, 2 pieces of bread. Salt, a pinch of salt, 2 teaspoons of salt. A piece of furniture, a piece of paper, a piece of advice, a piece of information, 2 pieces of furniture, 2 pieces of paper, 2 pieces of advice, 2 pieces of information. So we put a number plus any suitable measuring noun that goes with the uncountable noun plus of plus our uncountable noun. Remember, the changes only happen to that counting word. I'd like a cup of coffee. I'd like 2 cups of coffee. There is a bar of chocolate. There are 2 bars of chocolate. In a nutshell, uncountable nouns can be turned into a countable noun by adding a counting word that goes with them. We can either say, how much meat do you need? How many kilos of meat do you need? Both expressions are absolutely correct. Lastly, before we get to our exercises, I'd like to add a quick note. Sometimes uncountable nouns are used countably, but they actually mean a measure of something or a specific type of something. So, for example, when someone says, I'd like to have 2 coffees, please, they actually mean 2 cups of coffee or 2 mugs of coffee. Or when we say, we bought lots of fruits, we mean different types of fruit, because the word fruit is generally uncountable. And when we say fruits, we mean different types of fruit, like melons, berries, citrus, and different types of fruit like that. How many sugars should I get? When we add s to sugar and make it countable or plural like that, we might actually mean how many packs of sugar, or how many spoons of sugar, or even what type of sugar, brown sugar or white sugar. You tell me in the comments, what do I mean by this sentence? There were lots of milks on the shelf. Alright, let's do some exercises to see how much you've learned. Choose the correct answer. Something happened with Jane recently. I don't know what to do about it. Can you give me... Let's first cross out the ones that are not correct. An advice, right, because advice is an uncountable noun, so we don't use any indefinite articles. So number 2 is out. Number 4 is also out because advice does not accept plural s. The correct answers are number 1 and number 3. Some advice, a piece of advice. There's information about it on the internet. Correct. Information is an uncountable noun. So we can't use the word many, we cross it out. We can't also use the word weren't, because uncountable nouns have got only one form, and that is singular. So the correct answers are wasn't much and wasn't any. Both much and any are correct for uncountable nouns. There's chaos out there. Chaos is not a plural word just because it's got an S at the end of it. It's an uncountable noun. So we can't say is a because we don't use indefinite articles, and obviously we can't use are. So the correct answer is. There is chaos out there. I have to go. I've got time. Which word doesn't fit? That's right. time here is an uncountable noun, so we can't say a few time because a few is used for countable nouns. But plenty of, enough, and no can be used with both countable and uncountable nouns. We can say, I've got to go, I've got plenty of time, I've got enough time, I've got no time. All of these are correct. Have you heard the news? Shocking. Okay, this one's really tricky. The word the news is an uncountable noun. You might say, why? It's got an S at the end of it, but that S is not about the plural S. It's just for the word news. So we can't say they were shocking. We say it was shocking. We all need to help us move forward. That's right. Motivation is an uncountable noun. Easily, we can cross out the options motivations and a motivation. We've got motivation and some sort of motivation. Both of these are correct. We all need motivation to help us move forward. We all need some sort of motivation to help us move forward. Well done, everyone. You did an amazing job. And just as I said, I'll be making another video about uncountable nouns where you can actually learn them easily. Every uncountable noun that you need and you should know. So hit that subscribe button to stay tuned. Thanks for watching and have a beautiful day.